here we have an effort for me to document pretty much every piece of paper, posters and things of that nature, artwork that I had growing up from a teenager to the present. Some are pieces of art and some are posters and rock posters and things of that nature. And the idea is that I would take these 6 pieces of steel and wood and make them into what you see here, so that the art could be magnetically put up on these display pieces and removed and changed. So as somebody went through and started looking through some of the pieces that have been archivally protected here, they could actually go ahead. This is one of my daughter's things when she was a kid. They could actually, this is from Ecuador, after I came down from the Andes Mountains after a week, hungry and hot, and stayed for the first time in a small hotel where there was cold running water and air conditioning. It was like heaven. And we went out that night with Peace Corps volunteers and ate at this place called the El Jardín, had a wonderful meal. One of the bands from high school, I used to book bands at Monsignor Farrell High School when rock and roll concerts once a month were a big deal. And this was the band Sire, the drummer of which Paul Duskin ended up playing with a lot of people, that generated from Staten Island. Just goes on and on. Rock on 8th Street, when they used to have all kinds of rock and roll movies. And this is something that my friend Al Stewart would really appreciate. This is a piece that I did for the Wagnerian as the arts editor there for Brian Eno and David Byrne, My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, before it was what it is today, when nobody knew what it was. This is the actual mock-up, and we did everything physically. A few other pieces, crazy stuff, some big posters, some blacklight posters, but some of these, Tommy, there's backs to them as well. The Who, a favorite band. This piece is particularly great. My dad took me to the East Village at a time when the East Village was a rough place and there were bikers and things like that, because I wanted to buy posters. And he took me into this poster shop, and this was one of the posters I bought. It was an anti-smoking poster. On the other side of it is a poster, a peace poster from that generation. This was probably about 1968 or 1969. This is a piece that I was lucky enough to get. It's one of my all-time favorite albums with Pete Townsend and Ronnie Lane, Rough Mix, one of the greatest desert island albums that I know of. So all of these are capable of being displayed. For you Hendrix fans, you might like this. A lot of this stuff is right off the walls in my bedroom when I was a kid. Zeppelin, of course Bob Dylan, the Milton Glaser artwork from his greatest hits album, The Doors. These were fun. These are incredible posters that came from Shanghai, China. I got a whole bunch of them from a market in Manhattan, maybe about 3 decades ago. This being 2022, so it was a good long time ago. And these were, as soon as I saw them, I fell in love with them, and I purchased as many as I could afford. Really interesting things that are historical in nature. And so this is kind of what these are for. These were made to display the artwork in the room that is almost finished. I've been working on this for a long time, and this room is a room that I've spent about 15 years working on, and it's finally almost done. All of the wood except for the floor was stained and sanded and finished by me by hand. Hundreds of man-hours worth of work. So it's this is one of the places that artwork can be displayed on a variable basis, in and out. And just to follow along briefly, this is a painting by Gino Hollander, who was an artist in the 60s And he was someone who actually made videos, documentaries of wilderness, kind of like a Jacques Cousteau kind of thing in the 60s. These shows were called High Adventure. And he was quite an individual. And I just found this recently. This is the last thing I'll show you. This is a piece I found sitting in the garbage in Soho about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And as soon as I saw it, I couldn't believe someone would throw it out. It's called Bluefish Special by an artist who I've never been able to find, called, it looks like, I think it was Vaku. But I love this piece, and he's used some interesting things here, newspapers and some plaster and paint, and it's a great piece that I'll never part with. So just some ideas about the room here in Delhi that I've been working on to kind of create a museum, in a sense, to the life lived